Hey everybody! Ding ding!
The gong has gone. That means we must begin.
We are 5 years together. Not today, actually. It's already half a year ago that we celebrated our anniversary. And today we decided to do a little live on some of the things that we've learned in these 5 years, because I think we did learn some things that kept us together.
I'm still learning.
We're still learning, which is basically definitely at the root of relating, is to keep learning with each other, to keep expanding and not getting stuck in a place where we expect that this is the status quo now and it should always stay great like this, or it should always stay shitty like this. I've experienced that there's many people who have this idea of romantic relating being, and even we fall prey to that, this idea that once we are relating, it should be great. It should be heaven on earth. It should be forever and ever and ever and ever fairy tale land, but it is not. So yeah, shall we jump right in?
Dive on in. We're on a timer.
Yeah, we want to keep this short for you guys so you can
We always say that, and we don't know what short is. Let's see how we go, because we're going to try to encapsulate 5 lessons in 20 minutes. Let's see how we go. Number 1.
Number 1 is epic sex doesn't just happen, which sort of ties in what I just said.
Damn.
So this illusion of relationship bringing you the holy grail. So finally you found the one, you find the person, and you're expecting that to give you now the pleasure, the everything should just happen. And sex specifically in a long-term relationship, and I guess we are in a long-term relationship, just is something that is beautiful in the beginning, and then it requires work. Then it requires, as Marcel Proust said, I love this quote of him so much, the adventures of life are not consisting out of seeing new landscapes over and over, but seeing the old ones with new eyes. Something like this. Not exactly word perfect, this this quote, but so that's the same with sex. We're needing to learn to see, or I often find myself forgetting what I'm looking at. Like in Simon, I see him and I don't fully acknowledge the beauty.
How can you not see me? You know, unbelievable. You know, in this relationship with me all this time, you don't even see me. I'm like there next to you in your bed. What the hell?
But yeah, if we get complacent, we get like, I know this body, I know this guy. He sits next to me. We work a lot together.
I fart a lot.
He does. So the pleasure, the attraction can really get out of the window, not because our bodies don't want to connect, but because of our heads get into the way, and they just, yeah, night after night we lie next to each other and nothing really happens. And so we really have to specifically come together, make dates, make sex dates, make tantric nights where we enjoy lovemaking together, and we make specific time for it also, because we really want to make like hours and hours of lovemaking. And for that we need to create time, because we're both really busy. We run our, whatever you want to call it.
I don't like the word busy.
Actively charged with lots of creative ideas, maybe that's a better word, but we do a lot, and it's also part of our orgasmic energy, but we really need to make space for it. And
so what can we say to the people? So what you can do if you're in a relationship, first of all, tell us in the comments if you're having this experience, in whether you're on your own, because this doesn't matter even if you're on your own and not in a so-called partnership with any gender. By the way, this is not just about heteronormative relationships, but like, do you find time to practice and prioritize time to make love, cultivate love, I like to say, with yourself and with your partnerships or lovers, like real time? And this is, again, after like 5 years, you have to bring it in as a priority, just like you do a Skype call, just like you do going on Facebook, just like you do having a meeting with your friends to go for coffee at coffee shop, just like you do phoning your mum once a month, or your parents, or whatever, or once a week, or whatever your thing is. You make a appointment, right? You set it and you put it in the calendar, and you're like, oh, I've got to make this date. I've really got to be on time. I must be there. But then when it comes to cultivating sex, cultivating love, we noticed, even when we're coaching couples as well, we're noticing that none of them have a plan. None of them have any time. Yeah, none of them like come together. One of the things that's really helped us is that we have once a week sharing, and the sharing is even cultivating love. We might not even end up penetrating each other. We may not even end up getting, lustfully, passionately, erotically tantric all night, but Tantra on one element is about the path of truth, and our sharing practice that we cultivate gives us time to be present with each other, to see each other in the eyes, to love each other, to acknowledge each other, to listen to each other. And this is cultivating love. This is making love. Maybe not in the old generic way of like, we must have sex 3 times a week or 5 times a week or every day, as some people try to do, and then that can bring a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm. And one thing also that really helps, especially if you had long times where you didn't make love in a couple, maybe because you were both just really active and didn't really, tired at night, is then when you set the time and when you set the date to come back together, not to have too high expectations. So start slow, start with something that maybe is not necessarily penetration or even going to sex in that moment, but just giving each other massage, letting the body start to communicate with each other again, and warming ourselves up, because really our bodies need to warm up to sexuality. We need to heat up, and often when we disregard our physicality, our bodies, they start to get numb. They start to not communicate their desires anymore, and that's when we feel kind of like, I don't really have any need for sex.
Yeah.
So we need to simmer the pot. That's what the tantrics say. Keep the sexual temperature at a certain level, so that when we want to engage with it, we're already sort of boiling with it.
And we're not always simmering and boiling.
For sure.
And what happens as well in our relating, maybe you can share in the comments if this happens for you, because you get complacent and you're with each other all the time. Really, you can go like, I can go weeks without necessarily having any penetration or anything like that. And I can just be hanging out with Dara. We do loads of other things together. We share stuff. We do morning practice together. We do a lot of things to make love. We're creating projects together. So I feel that I'm getting a lot of time and energy with Dara. So sometimes I get cool with that. And then when it comes to like wanting to come together and have sex, like Dara said, it needs a bit of like, oh yeah, now we're doing this. I remember this, So this is why we have decided, and we're going to end on this one, we have decided to create, even for us, among the sharing and come together, a specific day a week, evening a week or day a week, to come together and cultivate. So that's one. We have to move on. We've already done 6 minutes.
Lesson number 2 is love is always, always, always the answer.
Love is the answer to your needs.
That might sound strange, or might sound like, of course, it's obvious you're in a relationship. But as you probably know, and you can let us know in the comments, when we are in relationships, what happens is this weird thing where we're starting to argue and we're starting to hurt the person that we love the most. And we just we get triggered by them, and we have all these weird arguments. And that often happens, of course, after the romance is a little bit over. And in that phase, when we're realizing that we come together to evolve, we come together to become bigger, more loving beings. We come together to expand our capacity to love. So our capacity to open when something isn't going the way we want it, because that's what sets us up for frustration, right? It's like, he's not the way I want him to be. Why is he not doing this? Why is he not doing that? Why is she not doing that? I don't like him. I don't like her. And then we're stuck in that moment. And what I always call into these spaces is this idea that a relationship is like a yoga practice, if you're not familiar with that, but you hold a certain pose, you hold quite a challenging pose, and you really you hold it and you breathe through it. Yeah, your partner is like triggering you, and you're like, and your arms start shaking, your legs start shaking. It's like, okay, I can still breathe, I can still stay open here, because love is the answer. I know if I stretch open here, I know if I lengthen that muscle of love a little further, and I just like, yes, I can still give. And actually, it's not even that hard. And here, please, yes, give. So then we can heal together. Then we can actually,
Well, we
fulfill the purpose of relating, which is healing each other in some way, and then becoming those overflowing fountains of love.
What was that funny thing we read the other night about women coming to, can you remember it? Women come into
women marry men.
We're not into marriage and all that sort of like, you know, generic
well, we saw this funny
commercial
thing.
marriage of religion, etc. But
women marry men because they hope that they will change, but then they never change. And men marry women because they hope they will never change, but then they do change.
So there's always going to be change. The question is, can you evolve and accept the change? And also one thing I love in this relating about love is that when you're looking with eyes of love, I like to call it real eyes, when we realize and we see beyond the behaviors and we see beyond the initial, you know, looks of a body and what you like and what you don't like. When you start to go on a deeper journey with somebody, you're starting to move beyond the physical into the transpersonal. You're going into like this, I call it the yoni-verse in this case for a woman who's has a vagina, yoni-verse. I'm going into this yoni-verse, right? And she's coming into my lingam-verse, right? It's like, this is full of so much, right? So much emotion and journey and story and ideas and creativity and expression and we're changing constantly. So it's like, more can I keep looking at Dara as this being that is evolving through the relating and through our journey together, and she's changing all the time and I'm changing all the time. So it's like navigating and flowing with the changes. And that's how love, for me, we call love the captain. It's how love is the captain, because it's leading the ship, the relationship. And when I come back to love, like, what would love do now? This is a great question. Tell me if you do this in relationship. Again, put it in the comments if you like this. What would love do now? It's a great question all the time. Sometimes we get triggered. Sometimes shit comes up and we always like, I come back to myself. I do my practice. I do my, come to meditation, whatever. And I'm like, what would love do now? What would love do now? Okay, love would open. Love would see beyond this little story that's playing out. Love would see beyond the judgments, the expectations, and the conditions. Love will own what's going on inside of me and deal with that, and then ask the question, what needs am I not meeting for myself? And then when I take care of that or communicate that to Dara, there's transformation. Because at the very root, it's always about self-love and solo practice. What do I need right now? And how can I communicate that clearly? And that just leads us into one thing before we jump onto the third one, which is, what do we always do? We have this thing about and.
Oh yeah, this is a really beautiful thing. We often do this practice on our workshops, which is called "And I Love That," which we borrowed from Carl Zeiss. A really nice thing. So one person says stream of consciousness, and the other person always, when he, for example, would share, and I say "and" whenever he gets stuck or when he judges himself or when he's just not happy about anything. And so then I would say and he would say, "And I love that." So he learns to love his resistance. And we've adapted it for our relationship in the way that when one person is like, "No, you're not doing that, and I'm not getting what I want from you," then he says and I say, "And I love you." And it's very, very sweet, because in that moment, it's such an easy, quick way to remember, oh yeah, I do love you.
There's magic.
Actually, it's not a problem to just, I'm a little bit frustrated right now, but I do love you, and I should not forget to say these things. So
okay, simplicity is divinity. Okay, next one.
Third lesson is, when we forget our practices, we lose.
When we forget our practices, we lose. We keep this one quite simple, but practice it for us is solo practice. Practices where whatever it might be for you. Oh yeah, and partner practices for sure. But I like to say that when I focus on myself first, if I put my own gas mask on first, right? Put my own mask on first, maybe not a gas mask, kill myself. But like, if I put my own mask on first, then I can show up fully in this relating. And then we can come together. And for example, we have a number of different practices, from the sharing practice to the little one we just shared with you now. That's a little practice that we have.
And I love you.
And I love you. And then we have, of course, we have other many. Well, we have many. There's like a list of practices that we have. But you know, maybe you have your own. But I notice again in partnership work and being with other couples that we support, that it's all, tell us, I really want to know, if people listening, if you resonate with this, do you find a lot of resistance to start the practice, or to go and do the practice, whether it be eye gazing, whether it be yoni meditation, lingam meditation, full body orgasm, massage? It can be, we have a number of different ones, from body work, breath work, all of these ones, right? Come together, create the sacred space, create your little temple for lovemaking. Tell me in the comments, how many of you constantly resist that, even though you know that that's the most beautiful, loving, magnificent place to be? You love expressing yourself. You love being touched. You love cultivating love. You love orgasm. You love ecstatic feelings in your body. So then the question is, why is it so damn resistant? Why do we not come up with it? Because we feel often vulnerable, silly. Sometimes we feel stupid in the beginning when we have to do these practices, right? But we have to keep cultivating them, and then over a long time. For us, for example, one of the practices, 1 year of doing it, 1 year, and then we started to see real magic from it. Yeah, not 1 year every single day, but like over a course of a year of doing this practice. It was called prayer, and it's about breathing and soft entry and circulating. You may have heard me mention this on other videos. A long time, and then we started to really feel the magic of it. Anyway, you want to contribute anything to that?
No, it's beautiful. Magic. The fourth lesson, let's jump into that, was the fourth lesson. I have to look in my notes because I made some notes. This one is great. Commitment is sexy. So commitment, the C word. I've heard in some sort of polyamorous tantric circles that people say, the C word, it's like really dangerous. Don't go there. Don't commit. You might lose yourself. Oh my God, what if you commit? And actually, we have to say that we figured out that the opposite is true. That commitment is extremely sexy, and in relationship is, for me, especially in that one phase, and we're going to talk about it, the phases of relationship in another live, but it's very, very important to commit. I'm not committing to Simon, and he's not committing to me, but we are committing to love, which is kind of also a little bit like the second lesson we learned. Love is always the answer, but love cannot be the answer if we have the back door always open. Simon doesn't like me saying that.
Whenever I hear the back door is open, I'm quite excited, So
the commitment to this journey together, and the realization that the triggers that we're having with each other, the stuff that pisses us off in relationship, is the thing that we need to grow, is the thing that we're not running away from, is the thing that we're staying in the fire with, and we're looking at it and we're uncovering what's underneath it, so that we can liberate that energy that gets triggered, and that we can liberate ourselves ultimately. And then what happens? We become more energetic, more alive, more loving beings, and we can share that with the world. Yeah,
and I'm gonna contribute one little piece to that. Is think about anything you do in life. If you're not fully committed, it don't happen. So why do we have such a resistance again about committing to a relationship? The only reason we have a resistance is, you know why? Because you are not certain in your commitment. This is a fear-based expression. If you're ready to show up fully in whatever you do, think of it like bowling. Imagine if I go bowling, I go, I'll come bowling, what are you going to do? Well, I'm not going to commit to throwing any balls down the alley today. I'm just going to see what happens, right? You're not even going to get up. You're not going to pick a ball up. You're not going to bowl it down the alley and even attempt to hit the pins. You have to have a responsibility to at least commit to yourself, to life, to love, to whatever you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to feel like really like there's no real drive. There's no motivation. There's no reason to do it. Why show up with a person and spend your life with them or experience with them if you're not fully committed to be there? What's the point?
Even if it's just to the moment, to this moment, to the next moment, to the moment, to the moment. So every morning we commit to this moment, to the day, to the unfolding of our relationship, and to the love in it. So we always affirm to be in love with each other in it.
Right, and you choosing this person, whoever it is, no matter who it is, you've made a conscious choice to be with them. So why be in a relationship that you don't want to show up in? There's 7.98 billion people on this planet. Don't torture yourself. Stay on your own. Do your solo practice. Love is everywhere. You are love. You are all there is and there ever will be. Like, you need to really like check in. Why am I in this relationship if I don't want to show up with this person? Yeah, just because of fear of loneliness, because of fear of rejection, because of fear of that you're always going to be on your own. If that's keeping you in a relationship, my advice to you is get the hell out of Dodge. That's an old saying. Okay, last one.
Last one is that the fifth lesson that we learned in our relationship is that our orgasmic energy is our currency. Our bank account is our orgasmic energy. When I was on the training just a couple of months ago in Bali on the sacred femininity training, at the end we did this little ritual, and I made this pact with the universe, and I told the universe that my abundance is deeply linked to my orgasmic energy, and if I take care of my orgasmic energy, abundance will always flow. And it was such an empowering moment to realize, yes, really, it's not like the time is limited on this planet. Money is actually infinite, and our energy is actually the energy around us, the energy within us is also infinite, and we need to cultivate it. We need to draw on it in order to energize our projects, energize our lives.
To appreciate it, to maximize it,
yes.
to play with it.
So with this commitment that I made, it really changed again. And I've been working a lot with my orgasmic energy, because I had moments where I would just fall down, totally plummet, not feel anything in my body, not feel so overworked, frustrated, stressed, whatever, and then no energy in my body. And I realized that I need to work with this. I need to consciously call it in. I need to say, okay, today I'm going to do my orgasmic yoga practice. I'm going to do my practice where I'm just loving myself, or I'm coming together with Simon and we're cultivating this love, this energy that actually, when we are in that flow, our projects are so much more effortlessly. Everything unfolds in such a more powerful way, rather than us pushing the masculine drive, trying to get something. Balance.
You're bringing balance with that, right? And when we talk about orgasmic yoga, for anybody that's first watching this video and you haven't listened to any of us talk or come and explore that orgasmic yoga program, then we're talking about life force energy. Whether you do yoga, whether you do qigong, whether you go and swim in the sea, whether you do surfing, whether you ride in nature, whatever, whether you just look in the eyes of yourself in the mirror, when you connect to that divine intelligence that is everything, when you plug yourself in, that's the charge, right? You're plugging yourself into the invisible force that is everywhere. It's inside of us, inside of you, on this computer screen, and so on. Then you start to energize yourself. You can draw energy from everywhere, and then you can bring that into yourself, fill yourself up, and share that with everybody else. That's what creative force is. Everything's created in that way. We are creative beings, life force energy generators, yeah? And so therefore, if we take a conscious decision to honor that, to charge myself, like for example, you have a phone, right? Did you charge your phone up today? Last night, did it go dead? You keep checking the battery life to see if it's like, oh, it's a little bit low, I better get to an adapter. Well, your body is the same. Time to come and touch your genitals a little bit more. Time to connect in with the being that you're with, trying to charge up a little bit, rather than depleting yourself every day with overthinking and a load of actions, behaviors that are not really empowering you. Plug yourself in to the divine force that is everywhere.
Your root chakra is your survival chakra, is connected to money, it's connected to creativity. All of this is there. So obviously when we activate that center in a healthy way, in a conscious way, then also more money, more abundance can come, more opportunities can flow into your life, because you're opening yourself from the root down. You're opening yourself up to receive from the earth, from the planet, from the abundance that this planet has to offer.
One question's just popped up. Maybe we can just drop in this quickly. How we're doing? Beautiful. So I know it might feel like we're going fast. Yeah, you can ask any questions. And also we're going like this because we really want to give you as much juice as possible. And I know everybody keeps, wanting this short, quick fix, which you can't get when cultivating real love. You need to be slow and breathe and take time. And like Dara said, warm up, get the pot boiling, simmering. Yeah. this live is a nice, juicy, jam-packed offering. Take whatever you will for yourself. Yeah. But this question, let's maybe just answer this one question from this beautiful man. He says, I would be curious how your experiences with shared passion, since I see you co-create and have your personal projects. How is your experience with those differences? In my relationship, we don't share this fire, so I'm mostly alone with the way or the curiosity to dive deep into Tantra. Beautiful. So all I would say to that is we have shared passion. And I know I spoke with other partnerships where if there's not that ignition, that igniting, that alchemy, that willingness to show up and co-create together on whatever that level that looks, then you're going to keep coming up against the wall. And I'd love to know maybe if that's been happening for you, where it just comes up with resistance and maybe conflict and so on. So for me, it's like really maybe have some sharing space, come together and really just vent everything that's going on for you and for your partner, and see if there is some synergy that's just maybe not being seen. But like, for example, it might be like, oh, I've got this project, and your partner might be like, oh yeah, I want to do that too, but it feels like the way you're sharing it, it's not the same resonance. So you need to see, before you just run off and leave each other, see if you can find some other resonance. And often if you spend a bit of, I don't like saying the word spend, if you invest a bit of energy into that to really uncover why you've come together, because you've obviously come together, right? You've obviously been drawn together. You've magnetized each other together. And we talk about this on another live, that attraction is about conditioning. So you've come together to heal something. So maybe you've come together to heal whatever the conflict's coming up right now, where you're feeling that you have some ideas and the other person doesn't. So that might be the main focus.
And she might need to reclaim something for herself in the relationship. I think you were a man, right? Well, I mean, your partner might need to just reclaim some more aspects of her aliveness. And for many women, Tantra can be very scary because we've just been so over sexualized, and we just like, oh, now I have to, whatever can come up for you. But as women, it's beautiful when we dive deeper into these sexual practices and allow our bodies to actually be loved the way they want to be loved, because there's so much to explore, so much depth of pleasure to experience. But we need time for it. We need to learn to teach our bodies the art of pleasure again. They are so numb. Most of us are deeply numb to pleasure. That's why we do our own practices, and that's why we come together.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I just want to say, because I know I was talking creative projects as well, and you said like to dive deep into Tantra. So you're talking about tantric practices. On our YouTube channel, there's about 20, and on our Facebook videos, there's about 20 breathing and movement practices and so on. And you can like even use them and maybe do some practices together, rather than it just being about like going straight in with the necessary sexual practices. Maybe you want to just play with some touch, some breath, some gentle stuff, and build that up maybe, because also sometimes the other partner doesn't know the potential that's there, like Dara said. And when you start going, we could try this. For example, as I said, there's like, I got about 50 practices on my phone in a list of like what we can do together. That's 50. I'm sure there's hundreds and 50s, 2000s, it's like, so we're just like using the ones that we find are really stimulating for us and that we enjoy and that we're learning. And that's how we roll. But you've got to make it fun. Yes. Lighten up. Let's not take this all so seriously. Let's have fun. It's beautiful to be with another body. We want connection. We want touch. We want to share. We want to speak. We have to rock and roll.
Yes, we're going to wrap it up. It's 30 minutes of your time. Thank you for spending it thank you for investing it into us and being with us, learning about relationship. I feel is one of the most important things to do at this moment in time, because when we change the way we relate to anything, really, to ourselves, to another, to nature, to God, to call it whatever you want to do, but when you change the way you relate at the base level, we're turning shit to gold. We're starting to transform this world. We're starting to bring a more loving world into the world. And that's our mission. That's our vision. That's what we're working for every single day. Awaken, awaken, awaken to the deeper truth that's here, right there in your heart, in all of our hearts. So we hope this helped you a little bit. We're
Let
gonna
us
do
know.
let us know in the comments if you have any other lessons that you learned in your relationship. We would love to know that. And also look out for more lives, because we're going to start this series now. We're going to do more lives every week, one
a week series
specific
around
topics.
these topics. So if there's any topics that you really want to explore, or we might have a little insight from our own direct experience, then let us know.
Shoot over a question. We might.
I see some beautiful faces that I know in the comments. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Ciao.